There's a beautiful story in India that I heard, and the essence of the story is that it's kind of what you're saying, that it's attachments, that being attached to something which causes suffering. And there's a beautiful book. I think it's one of the ones I've mentioned before, by a guy called Swami Rama, and he's living as an ascetic. It means like he's given up, the world, and then he's in the Himalayas, and he's watching two ascetics who've given up the world, and he watches them come back. They own nothing, literally nothing, and they just beg. And I think that a lot of the sadhus, they call them, and even naked in the Himalayas, they literally have nothing, and they sit down to meditate, and they start arguing over a piece of grass. There's a lump of grass that's more comfortable, and so they end up having a fist fight over who's going to meditate on the lump of grass, the most comfortable meditation spot. And there's a story around that I heard it's a wisdom story in India. And so there's a story of a family with a house and a car. And one of the members of that family is seen as a spiritual teacher to the local community. And so then there's another spiritual teacher that lives in the village or the city or wherever it is, and he has is a possession, like a bowl, and he drinks out the bowl, eats out the bowl, and he collects alms, in the bowl. And so there's a student who wants to become, a spiritual seeker in that village, and so he's trying to figure out which of these two teachers to follow. There's the guy with the bowl, and there's a guy with a house, car, and family. And he thinks, okay, I'll try and figure out who has the least attachments, because it seems to be the guy with just the bowl. And so he goes to the guy that owns the house and says, can I borrow your car? Because I need to go to the next village and see my family. And the guy goes, yeah, sure. Here's the keys, help yourself. Just bring it back when you need to. And so then he goes, sees his family, and comes back. And as he arrives back on this driveway, he notices the other teacher is sat with the bowl waiting for money, and in front of the house, just sat on the pavement. And he thinks, the student in the car thinks, I'm so thirsty. Maybe I could just go and get his bowl and get some water. So he goes to this guy sat on the streets and says, can I just use your bowl? I'm thirsty and I need some water. And the guy says, no. He says, I can't give you this bowl, because if someone walks past with money, what am I going to do? I'm not going to have money for the day. And so the story is that he realizes the guy with the bowl is attached, and the guy with the house has no attachment, or little or no attachment. So I think the story, when I heard that, it points to, I think it's right. I think also it gets quite hard when you have things. Not that I'm a millionaire, but then there can be a fear of losing those things. That can be which I think was what Christ was saying. It's harder, for a rich man to get through the eye of a needle than a camel or something like that. And so I think there's a beautiful thing when my teacher in India, he said, money is like shoes. He said, just find the size that fits, And so that might be different for different people, but I do agree, mate, that I think having some money and being free of debt relieves the stress in the body. I do experience that. But then there's been times most of my life when I had no money, and struggled to pay the bills every single month, a long, long time. And I don't know if I'm that much happier now that I can do that, which is weird, because I question that. There's certainly a level of tension that's gone, a level of worry about, God, how am I going to pay my rent? you know, going to the aisle at Asda that has the Whoops aisle, you know, the reduced things. And now I can go and buy on a, you know, like the extra special cheese. Oh God, I feel so rich, you know. So yeah, I really reflect on that, man. Yeah, it certainly seems to be the case that there is a different type of happiness